Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee. And for the second straight week, we got Coach Bob sitting in between us. And we are going to go into episode 2 with Bob. And I think all three of us have some really important feedback, topics, questions for each other. And this is really going to be about blending your individual goals with your goals as a coach or owner or employee, whatever, because we are three individuals here and we all three have individual goals within CrossFit. It could be performance, aesthetics, health, wellness, mental health. We all have reasons why we come to the gym. We have things that we want Bison to give us, right? Me and Bobby especially, it's our job, our income's coming. We want this place to do well so that, yes, we can bring home money to our families and support, our children as they grow up and pay our bills, right? But we also have competitive goals that we want to really pursue on our own. I'm entering age 40 to 44 years. It's always been in my scope to kind of pursue the competitive scene. For once I got there, Bobby's at the young part of the 35 to 39 bracket, so he's obviously going after a little bit, but we're both coaches, and I think if you really put us in a dark corner, I think we would be honest in that saying, like, we do know that the coach, the work side of this place is probably more important than us qualifying for the games and spending $3,000 to go and compete somewhere. But that is, they are hard to mesh with each other, but I have always been a very firm believer that the two can feed each other. You have an individual goal. If you really are present, it can actually make you a better coach. And if you are a better coach, if you try to be a better coach, I think it can make you a better athlete. I've been on that train since I've started coaching. So Bob, going into this, really kind of getting into how do you prioritize what is truly most important to you as both a coach and athlete? How do you put much thought into that, or is it something that just naturally comes to you?
Well, initially, when I started this whole journey out of CrossFit, I was, I'm going to make it to the CrossFit Games.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have that thought, and some make it there. And then I saw some of these guys and see their times or the weight they lifted, and I'm trying to calculate in my head how it's even possible to do that many reps in this amount of time. Like this, it's not making sense to me. And then I quickly realized, okay, I'm probably not going to make it to the CrossFit Games. But when my time is here, when I'm a master, I might have a shot. So that was probably like 6 years ago I made that realization. And now we finally made it here. So right now I do have that as like a little bit more of a realistic goal, maybe. But in terms of, what's important really for me is just doing something every day is like, it's more of like a mental thing for me. Right. So I need to do something. I need to move. It just makes me feel better. And as long as I'm feeling better, then I'm going to be my best self. And that will make me a better coach, a better husband, father, everything. So it just being able to do that, whatever it is, might be 10 minutes of just, riding a bike. Doing some bicep curls because they're awesome. It's I'm gonna feel better. So that's like the most important thing for me, just doing something.
I love that. So you're doing something for yourself because it makes you kind of better outside. Sam, do you feel that when you go to work? Like you've always been a morning workout guy. You have a pretty serious job that takes a lot of just like skill and intelligence. Is part of your motivation of working out in the morning that it's kind of sets you up for success later in the day?
It's for health. I mean, no doubt. Like if I miss more than 2 days, I know I don't feel good. Of course, if I work out every day all week, I don't feel good either. So it's kind of a little bit of a balance here. But I think the issue is really, can you, because performance goals and achieving at a high level is very selfish. Like when I went through to become, during my training, I was singularly focused on me getting through this challenge, which was whatever it was, graduating or finishing my training or whatever. Very selfish. And I think most athletes, when you're really focused on achieving a certain goal, you have to be selfish. It's not about giving to others or being present for this, that, or the other thing. I think you see most elite athletes, they're really focused on self. And so I always felt like there was a little bit of a conflict with being in service to others, which is what coaching is. You're in service to others.
Yep.
So I always listen to you, Dave, about being in service, being an elite athlete, performance, helping others, and you can marry those. And I think I always love hearing that, because I want to hear there is some inherent conflict.
Yeah.
And I always want to hear the solutions on how to actually make that happen. So as a coach and as someone who's on the brink of making the CrossFit Games,
Yep.
like, how are you pulling the time together for yourself, making sure you are performing at your elite level, but then also fitting in, like you said, you can't ignore being a father, you can't ignore being a husband, you can't ignore work.
Right.
So what do you do to like make that happen?
Well, I think you kind of have just snuck it in there. It's time management, right? As you have to be able to manage your time well. And this is something I learned for sure. You know, I've been following Invictus's competition programming for 12 years, you know, for a very long time at this point. And when I first started doing it, like, they would have part A, B, C, D, E, F. Sometimes they throw a G in there. I'm like, you know, it's like, okay, so I have to do all this. I'd be in the gym for, 3 hours at that. But I was 12 years ago. I was a 23-year-old kid. I had a little more time to do that. Now I'm like, I'll do part B, and then I'll do some of my own stuff, and that's it. Like, I'll just, maybe it's just lifting and like a short Metcon, but I'm able to now just kind of, I know myself much more, so I'm able to do what I feel I need to do and what's necessary for me. But it's a little bit less usually, but I'm also, like I said, do something every day. So if I'm missing something, some accessory work, on a Sunday, I could come in and do that, and like, I'm all good. I'll fit it in. But like I said, every day I need to do something, but it only might be 10 minutes a day, and it might be chest to bars and push-ups, whatever that day is.
It sounds like, Dave, you kind of had the same philosophy with that sort of thing, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that time management is a lost skill because of how many distractions are at our disposal now. Like, the amount of time we waste on our phones.
Oh yeah.
Is, I remember this is years ago where I didn't even know this was a thing. It was during COVID where you could check how long you spent on Instagram every day. I'm not very tech savvy, as Sam knows, but I didn't even know that was a thing. And I remember going there, and it was during COVID. It was like hour 41 minutes. I'm like, what? That's a full blown training session right there.
Right.
And before Instagram was a thing, what did you do with that time? And we probably were more productive, or I would say it was easier to be more productive back. And it's not just Instagram; it's all technology. It could be YouTube, it could be Twitter, it could be the amount of the ability to stream television shows and movies. Like, it's just easier to go find entertainment. And I do think at my peak training days was also pre-kid, but I had some good training regimens after Brock was born as well. It really came down to being disciplined with the time that you did have. It wasn't, I have 2 hours of training to do. It was, I have 37 minutes and I'm going to maximize 37. So I'm not going to talk to my friends. I'm not going on my phone in between sets. It is just working. And it's amazing how much you can get done.
And I was just about to say that same thing, that in 37 minutes, you can get a lot of work done.
Like, you can get smoked in 30. You don't even need 37, to be honest with you.
No.
So one thing I did was, after my coaching schedule was set, like, this is pre-Bobby, but I was in charge of the schedule for 10 years, basically, until Liz became head coach, right? And I always lived under the philosophy that kind of give everyone what they needed, and then I would basically fill in the cracks. And there's good and bad about that, and there were struggle points and great points about that as well. But I always would get that schedule set and be like, all right, that period I go in to coach at 4:15, I'm free from 1 to 4. I can go in at 2. I can get a long training session in. Hey, I have to wake up early the next 3 days. I hate working out after I coach in the morning. I just don't respond well to it. So that I would use that 8 to 9:30 period that you have on Tuesdays to program. And like, I would just find regimented ways to get work done so that when I don't have to program on Fridays anymore, I could use that to train. Long-winded way of saying, I rarely have any sympathy for anyone says they don't have time. And like, there's a good shot that if you tell me you don't have time to do something, I'm rolling my eyes. And it's not a disrespectful thing. You're probably just wasting a lot of time. I do think we have a lot of time to get a lot done. Dallas here, I was with him the other night, and he goes like, I really do think I could have 4 full-time jobs and get it done. And people just can't do one because they just waste so much time. And, you know, I don't exercise, we don't have time. You have 10 minutes, go do 10 minutes of burpees. It's not fun, but you do have 10 minutes to exercise. Like little things like that. But also giving yourself the grace to not do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Do A, B, C, D. And like, hey, you still have moved the needle in one way or another. Last thing I'll say is when you are training and you do have limited time, are you fully intentional and invested in that time that you do have? If you're kind of 70% in, lollygagging, talking to your friends, then the result or lack of will show up because of that. But it's not the time. I think the victim mentality is what hurts us there.
Yeah. And, you know, I admire you for being an owner, being an elite athlete yourself. You know, a lot of times they say, oh, you know, gym owners, oh, you'll never be able to put enough time in, you're not going to be able to work out at all. Dave's just breaking that mold, you know, before our eyes. So it is impressive.
And I think the like elite athlete, good athlete, whatever, I mean, it's all a subjective term. Like I've always said, I'm not the elite athlete. Like I've always said the elite athlete are the one that can qualify for the CrossFit Games. And I've never gotten there, but I have no shame in saying I've tried to become one for 12 years and I have no shame. It's never an ego thing. But one thing I have in my dark days have thought about, and Bob, you can answer this. Sam, I want you to answer this as well because you're a very busy guy yourself. Do you ever fall victim to the mistake of saying, man, if I didn't have all this stuff going on, I would be there in those shoes. If I wasn't coaching all these early morning classes, I would be a better athlete and I would be at this level. And be honest, do you ever catch yourself saying that? Like, Sam, I would have reached this level if I didn't have all these 3 jobs to do and all these responsibilities.
I think people have told you that.
Yeah.
They have said, Dave, if you offloaded some of your responsibilities, you could perform better.
I have some thoughts on that. But
and I know that those are discussions that people around you who care about you and support you have
absolutely
said.
Yep.
For me, I feel like I was all in on my job for such a long time. And then at some point you feel like it's different than being an athlete and being an individual achieving a certain goal. Like, you know, I think in life you have certain goals you want to achieve and you check off those boxes, right? I want to own a gym. Great. I want it to be successful. I want to do this. So doing those things is different than saying I want to score in the top 20 in semis and make it to the games. Like that is a very objective, hard number that you have to hit. But every other goal in life is multifactorial. There are different ways of achieving that. And so for me personally, I've sort of achieved a lot of the things I thought I wanted to, and I'm still working on things that I am learning about and growing about and enjoying, but they don't require that type of, like, I mean, listen, do I want to be sitting there doing certain things on a weekend when I could be just like hanging out and whatever? Yes, but I honestly, at this point in my life, I don't think I could. If I just sat there and did whatever, I would be like, I'm bored. I need to find something to do. So
honestly, you probably would.
So so whatever fills your cup is great. And, you know, for a while, I actually was very performance oriented, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Sam was one of the OG age group online qualifiers from this gym.
Yeah. Staunton made the first, Kathleen made it the first. And then I was like, wow, like
that year you made it was one of my funnest years coaching. It really was. I had so much fun when you left.
Like, well, it could be done. And then so like, you know, that was really, really, really hard. So I have a little inkling of what it takes to push to get those extra 10 seconds on that performance. To get that extra 2 reps you know, at that weight, to hit that, you know, 315 front squat another time or something crazy like that. Like it's really, 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 really hard. And so I don't know if, you know, if I didn't have a full-time job. Like maybe if I like had literally said, and I've known people like surgeons who did them, they're like, I'm taking a year off to climb Mount Everest.
That's awesome.
And they've done it. You know, I've talked to them and I'm like, you're crazy, but that's great. Like if I said I'm taking 6 months off and I'm doing nothing but training, like would I make it to the games? I don't know. Like it would be such an interesting experiment.
It'd be a fun ride to take.
Just to see how far you could actually get. And so I kind of wonder when you guys are at the cusp right now to say, let me drop everything else.
Yep.
Let me put everything that I got into this, for a short period of time. Could that actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if I would want that. I really don't like doing all that, because I have there's so many times in my head that I just think like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing these assault bike intervals.
It's always the assault bike.
Like, what am I really doing here? Like, I'm fit enough, right? I don't really need to do this. But then, I have that little voice in the back of my head, like, Bob, come on, stop being a bitch. Like, you need to, like, just go a little harder. Just push this.
There's
push this.
Definitely some of the don't be a bitch mindset. But one thing that I hope can inspire you is, and that I think about this all the time, is if you quit, or if you are a little bitch and you do kind of back off of it, other people are going to do that too. Because as a coach, this is one of the unique opportunities that a coach has, or any leader or a parent even, right? Like, I'm full-blown parent game now, where the people around you, they're going to follow you. Oh. And not all of them, and I'm not saying they're anointing you. They don't have a statue of you outside their house, but you do, as a coach, you do set the tone. And I know for a fact, I've had people say this to me. I've had people say this to another coach that we've had on the podcast before. When you do start becoming that quitter, it might not happen right away, but it will put that thought into other people's heads. And to me, coaching is all about making an impact. And I would rather put myself through a nasty assault bike workout and be suffering consequences that come from it, including tears, if I know it's going to help someone push towards their goal. And that's a huge part of coaching to me.
100%. And I will tell you right now that I have those thoughts.
And yeah,
I have never quit a workout.
Yeah.
One time maybe, and that's because I almost had a heart attack doing it. It was, I think it was 110 degrees with 9,000% humidity.
Bobby hasn't been here in the summer yet.
And, yeah. Well, after this, I could do anything. And I think that was the only one, and that was probably in 2016.
Wow.
And I was legit death was knocking on my door. And other than that, I've never quit one.
That's awesome.
And I don't anticipate, even if, you finish up, it's a little bit slower than you might
Absolutely,
want. It happens.
Yep.
But you give it everything you have. And that's, I think, what I ask of members too. Like, you don't have to give 110% every day. You just have to give 100% of what you have that day.
Yeah.
That might be 75%, but that's fine. That's what I want then. You don't have to always go super hard. You give what you have that day, and that's a win.
And this is what walking the walk is. And this is why I do like the idea of a coach pursuing their own goals. I've had some really good conversations with people I respect a lot. I go to advice in and out of the gym. And that line has been said. It's like, hey, that coach should never put their goals above, the goals of coaching others. And I do agree with that. If you had to say black or white objective, this or that, yes, the goal of, especially in like my position, I want to always put others and the gym before me. But yes, there are times like I'm here for me. Like when I usually come work out in class, like I ain't here for any, like I want to work out. But with that said, it just circles back to, what is your why? What is the purpose? Like, passion brings you to the gym. Passion brings you to going to the assault bike, right? And starting the workout, but purpose is what gets you to finish the workout. Purpose is why you don't quit workouts. And if you can always put purpose before passion, you're good forever. Because if you're only relying on passions, our passions change. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not as passionate about CrossFit sport as I used to be.
Same.
I'm just not. Like Dallas and I, I keep bringing up this conversation I just had with Dallas a couple of nights ago. All we talked about for years were CrossFit workouts. All we talked about. And it was just like, you had nothing else going on, but we were so passionate about it.
I think that's all we still talk about.
But a different...
Or I used to get really upset about not doing workouts. And I can see it in people here, redoing a workout because they were 2 reps shy of finishing a workout. And I'm not, again, we've already talked about repeating workouts, not against it, but the purpose to me is just deeper than like what the workout is. And part of my purpose, and I hope it's any coach's purpose, is like there are things going on around your workout that are not just about your workout. And when you have that purpose underlying, it can really just answer a lot of questions for you. Should I finish this workout? Should I try to move well today? Should I scale if something hurts? Should I not do this workout because I'm in pain? Because if you keep doing that, you don't think that people are going to follow you at some point? You know, it's like, I think that's something that we can always kind of reflect on a little bit.
Have you ever felt burnt out?
Good question.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's been plenty of times that I felt burnt out. And, that's some of the times when I've thought like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Not so much these days because I just feel like I know how to modulate myself much better. So I can really like push when I need to, back off when I know that I need to back off a little bit. But I'm still going hard. It's not like I back off to a point where I'm just like, going through the motions, which still sometimes is better than nothing. But I'm always giving, what I have that day. And I just can tell better now, knowing myself much better, doing this for so long, what that day is going to look like. And like, if my knee's bothering me, then I'm not going to squat that day. Where years past, I would push through that and I'd set myself up for failure. So I think knowing yourself is a really big aspect in CrossFit and fitness in general. So I think I can maintain a much better base level of fitness for longer now.
Coming up with your own system of, again, blending your goals with the goals of others, with the goals of the gym, with your family, everything. And not necessarily schedule, like a schedule and who's coaching your classes and when you have to coach, like more. Here's a tough question because I don't know if I have the answer for someone like you, Bobby. I know I have the answer for someone like me, but we're different, but we're also alike in some ways. You have followed the same program for 12 years, and that's really rare, like really rare. Like there's so many program whores. Like you just like every year you're like on this. You want to start a new program because that's what's preventing you from getting to the games. It's the program, it's the coach, right? And it's never you. It's always the program.
Yeah,
but you were, I don't want to say you were. It was pretty easy for you to do that at Hudson River, your previous stop. Like go in and do the workout, or at Great White. And we've talked about this a few times where I only want to support you in whatever goal you have. I never want to get in the way. Like whether it's working out with you, working out against you, writing up a program for this or that. But I don't want to F with what has worked for you. So how do you blend? Because I have fought this battle in my head for so many years. When I had paid a coach for a couple of years, and like it was a full blown program, and I still did 4 bicep squats a week because I wanted to be part of the crew, and I didn't want to ever feel like I was, not cooking, not eating what I was cooking when it came to programming. What is your plan? And in regard to staying on that program, which has done immense work for you, but also being a part of a community that you're coaching, because it's tough.
No, I think, again, that just comes down to knowing what I can do. And I've been blending it already.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
And I think that it's just kind of being able to pick okay, especially weakness days, like things where Bison's program stuff that I'm like, ooh, I'm not that strong with that. Like I'm going to fit this in. And just being able to mix and match a little bit. Like I don't need to now do every single Friday that Invictus programs. I just don't.
Right.
So I can way more easily navigate that and fill in days.
Yeah. That's the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just being able to fit in what makes sense and not overdo anything. Like if I'm not going to do muscle ups two days in a row or 3 days in a row. Like I'm not going to do something like crazy like that. But as long as I can fit like the strength of one day in, whether it's Bison or Invictus, and then Mekon one day in, and it makes sense. It's actually quite easy, I think.
Yeah, just like massaging it week to week, and listening to your body too is a big part. Because I do think there's value. I talk to Dan Cote about this all the time. Like, the amount that I'm programmed for him right now, and he wants like morning and afternoon sessions, and he's got pretty high capacity. And this week alone, I think I changed 3 Bison workouts for him because of other stuff we're doing, and which is fine. But there is a value to kind of being in a class environment sometimes, or having times on a whiteboard from athletes here that you're getting to know. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go after that time. I'm going to try to beat this or run away from that.
Yeah.
Describe some of like the pros and cons of training by yourself. You've done it for a long time, and it's a skill that you developed, but also benefiting from the intensity that you get from being in an environment and doing an open workout against Mike McKinney that we all got to watch. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
But just kind of touch on that a little bit.
I mean, it is definitely way more fun doing it in a group aspect. That being said, I don't love being watched when I work out.
Okay.
It's just like not something because I don't I don't hate people like cheering me on, but there's sometimes I'm just like,
Good to know. Good to know.
I
I hate people.
Sam does too.
yeah, like I know like if I'm going slow, like yeah, I know I'm going slow. Thank you. I know I need to pick up the pace. I'm trying here. So like I get like you're coming from a good place. Honestly, I probably need it sometimes. Like you know what? I should be pushing harder here.
Right.
I think that does help. But in terms of like being in a class and everyone working at the same time, it really does like motivate you to go a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It must though, because I feel like it does.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm on my own, it's like, yeah, no, I think I'm going as hard, but am I really? Maybe, but probably not. So it's definitely a lot more fun doing it within a class setting, or at least just having like people who have done it before me, seeing them do it. And yeah, it definitely helps you push a little bit harder, I think.
I wanted to circle back on letting some of these responsibilities go and delegate.
Yeah.
Like, you said you had some answers in terms of everyone sort of bugging you about that.
Yeah.
And in terms of like how much better your individual performance could be.
Yeah.
If you sort of, drop some stuff.
I mean, I'm definitely, so you know me and Sam well enough. Bob, you're getting to know me. I'm never, ever going to point a finger at something or someone to say that's why I haven't made my goal. I'll never do that. Okay. But I also, well, in the same exact breath, not a different breath, the same breath, I will say I've always put the gym before myself when it comes to competitive stuff. And I'm not bragging about it. If anything, I feel like I should do that, right? Like that's how, I was brought up. That's how my father was. That's how a lot of my brothers are. I always do subscribe to the thought that leaders eat last. So I don't get what I want here. But I'm not a victim to it. That's what I should do in my role. And if I can't do that, I shouldn't be in the role. I should give the role to someone else and bow out. But objectively, do I think I'd be a better athlete if I had a better training regimen schedule based on? Absolutely, 100%. But to me, I don't stress about it, and I don't consider myself a victim to it because I chose this path. Like, this is what I want to do. Like I don't want at my funeral to be like, did you guys remember that one year Dave made the games? What an accomplishment that was. But I do want that. I want it for myself. So, I have accomplished things in CrossFit sport that I'm really proud of, and I know all the work and all the process that went into it. And there are times you get even a little emotional about it. Like I remember the one when I won in San Diego at Legends, like Kathleen was there. It was like a weird emotional moment. I was like, holy cow, that just happened. But it still is secondary to what I want to be remembered for. Like I want to be remembered for doing my best for Bison, the community, and helping others compete at a high level. Like I'm already trying to think about ways this weekend, and if Bobby does make the games, like what we're going to do with the schedule so we can train. Like I am already thinking about that. That is what I want to do. And it's not because I'm trying to be a good person. It's like I actually feel like that's what I'm here to do. So like we can go down this path of saying, I could have been the 18th ranked CrossFitter instead of the 24th ranked CrossFitter if I made other people do things that I'm supposed to do, right? And I don't think it would make me happy. I really don't. I think I would feel too guilty that other people are doing things that I should be doing. Now you get into the finances. Hey, you're being paid to do that. Then it's, that takes some of that brunt off, right? Like if someone... But I struggle to ask anyone to help me clean the floor, like let alone coach my classes for me. So, we that's just how I'm wired. And that is what at the end of the day we're just trying to make ourselves happy, right? I make myself happy by living like that. But yes, there is a fire inside of me that I've had since 2012 that I just want to go compete there because I do know I can perform when I'm in person. Like looking people in the face.
Let me flip it to the complete other side. So there might be people listening who are like, okay, so Dave, Bobby, elite guys, they're worried about, they're filling their cup in terms of their individual performances. Yeah. They also do coaching, but they're trying to lift up all the other elite people at the gym. But I'm just a guy who wants to show up and move a little bit.
Yeah.
And what are they doing for me? Like, great. So they're just spending all weekend doing Bison quarterfinals and, getting ready to help people get to the games. And, I'm just here at 7 a.m. and I'm just like, they're not really spending any time focused on what I'm doing or
Great question.
how I can get healthy.
So this is actually my favorite kind of person that comes in, not the elite athlete. Like, I always say this, like the most impressive thing for me is like a woman doing a rope climb or like a muscle up. I think that is the coolest thing. Right.
I'll keep the gender part, like you're walking that line. So I'm just going to be like
an average person doing a rope climb. Something that you normally wouldn't see publicly at a different show.
No, yeah. I'm just building the base here.
Okay.
Freddie, that's like the most impressive thing.
Okay.
But in terms of like just someone coming in, right?
Yes.
And you're brand new.
Yes.
They're my favorite person because now I can work with you and I can like teach you things how they should be done. And I can keep you, safe doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like, you're gonna get better. You're not coming from a place that, like, you've already done something this way, right? Now, like, I like working with these people much more, and it's much more fulfilling. Like, I know how hard this is, right? It's hard for anybody, whether you're an elite or you're someone that's just coming in. It's probably harder for the person that's just coming in, and with not much experience. So I love working with these people. And I don't know about you, Dave, if you feel that way or not, but for me, that's my favorite type of person.
It's my favorite kind of member. The people that are, I don't want to say keep to themselves. I don't want people to keep to themselves, but I'll say high-end athletes, videotaping this weekend, like they require a lot of maintenance, a lot of extra psychology work, right? And they're a lot more demanding on your time. And that's why a lot of elite athletes go get personal coaches that they meet with every single week, right? And it's part of what you pay for. And every now and then I have these moments where I'm like, I wish I was Ron coming at 5 a.m. Just comes in 4 days a week, does his workout, goes home, goes about his day. And I've found those are the people that last the longest. They have no issue scaling. They don't give an F where they rank. They don't care about RX. And the people that do pursue performance and high-end performance and high-end aesthetics even, they crash and burn and they're out of here at some point. And I think that I don't know if they want more attention, right? Other than how are you? How's your weekend? How's this feel? Let's come up with this scaling option. Level 1, level 2, level 3, write up your score on the whiteboard. I don't think they want more than that. But I also think at the same time, you have to make sure, because you're giving so much attention to those high-end athletes, because they literally need someone to videotape their workouts. And that has its own culture, that's own vibe when you're doing something like that. But I think it's just making sure that they know you see them. That's part of the reason why we write scores on the whiteboard. It's like, I saw what you did today. I know what you did today. You might not think I'm giving you as much attention as someone else, but different goals need different demands for coaches to give attention. So, do we have that persona, Sam? Bob and Dave like to train at the highest end possible. They will push their bodies. Does that hurt their image in the eye of what we're calling an average member? What do you think? Be honest.
I don't know. That's why I asked, because, I mean, I will say I take a lot of pleasure in the people who come up to the whiteboard and say, you know what? I was able to RX this one too.
Yeah,
I still RX
this so much. Yeah.
And I feel like I love our elite athletes because, I just, not because of the performance, but because the joy they take out of it.
Yeah.
But I also worry because injury is always run like you're running the ragged edge every time you train for performance.
Yep.
And I've seen it. And so it scares me a little bit. But every person who comes in and is like, you know what, I really didn't want to snatch, but you got me to try it, and you know what, I gave it a go. Any one of those guys like makes me happy. And I think if you're always thinking about elite, I know you guys don't, but I also want you guys to remind everyone that this is exactly like your holistic mindset in terms of working with everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about CrossFit in general. Like, you have the elite athletes doing ring muscle ups, handstand walks, and you have, the members that just walked in doing ring rows and, a bear crawl or something along those lines. And you can work together and blend them. And it's awesome. And everyone is working, like getting the same stimulus, doing the same thing, just to a different degree, right? And that's CrossFit. And that's what the beauty of it.
Yeah, the last thing on that I would say, it's important to have coach. This is where I think having a bigger staff can help, is that, there are certain coaches that the high-end athletes want to work with more, and they want them to be watched. They want all this attention. They want their splits from every single run. And should I row 143 or 142, right? It's like that specific. But some coaches have that skill set. That you also need the coaches that are not that person. They don't want to tell you what your 1K row should be compared to your 2K. They want to really focus on your posture and your breathing habits and how well you're moving, and start asking about your kids, like all that stuff. You need to have a versatile staff. And I think that's one thing that, we get asked, well, why does this person coach but not this person? Why does that? Well, it's not always the people as individuals. It's, do they balance what the rest of the staff already has?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a huge part of what we do. And even the room we're sitting in, Sam, right now, we have more content coming out, more episodes coming out on what Outlast is going to be. But to me, if anyone did question, it's like, all right, are you guys too into the performance side? Like, come take a look at what we're spending for this spot, and B, what we're actually trying to do. Like, this is literally for the people that don't want to really perform that much, or they're getting banged up and they need a break from CrossFit. And yes, we're going to have people coming in from the outside that won't ever walk to a CrossFit, but this is for that person. And, if we made this a competitor room, hey guys, only the semifinalists from 2024 can come train in this new gym. Now we're barking up the wrong tree. But I think a lot of our actions, again, actions over words, I think that they have proven and will continue to prove that there isn't better or worse here, but there are different approaches to every kind of athlete there are here, and different demands. All right. So guys, that's kind of like how we like to blend our individual goals with who we are as coaches. And I think to sum it up, if you guys want to chime in at all, the number one thing I would want to say is that I'll never want any individual, coach or athlete, to completely push everything they want aside just for the sake of being a coach. The only thing I would ask is that just always understand what is more important. And I'm not going to tell you what that should be, but there should be a priority list. What is more important for you? And just work off of that. You don't have to ignore the other side, but I do think the priority needs to be known both in your head and the people around you, because that's what can make everyone easier to work with. Any thoughts, guys?
Agreed 100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Sam. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.